Hello and welcome to chapter 9 of Angular Material Theming System. In this chapter, we are going to update an existing application which uses Angular Material 18 to Angular Material 19. If you don't have any existing application which uses version 18, you can skip watching this chapter. For this chapter, we are going to use a demo which I have prepared in one of my previous courses for Angular Material 18. If you have cloned the Angular Material theming repository, you already have that demo in your local machine. Simply go to Angular Material theming directory. Inside that, go to 09 updating 18 slash start slash myapp directory. And then you may want to install the dependencies again using force flag and then run the project using npm start command. Now in this chapter, first of all, I will briefly walk you through demo of the current application. Then we will update Angular Material 18 to version 19. This will be a step-by-step process. Then we will make the style changes so that our application follows the latest guideline of Angular Material 19. And finally, we will make some changes for our color picker so that it works as expected in our demo application. Okay, let's jump to our demo. So this is a very simple one-page application. No major functionality is going over here. The goal is to showcase all the features of Angular Material theming. And on the top right side, there is a color picker through which you can dynamically change the colors. We can see that. And you can also switch the theme to light and dark. And there is an example of how density is getting applied, how you can change the font sizes. If I increase it, the font size in buttons are getting increased. And there is a custom component called alert there we are using theming of Angular material. Then there is custom theme applied for buttons called rose red. Then custom shape is applied to buttons. You can see radius is little bit different. Then I'm using overrides example to showcase how you can override background, ripple, and border color. And then I have a small demo of how you can create color variants of material buttons. Like color is equal to secondary, color is equal to tertiary. If you pass that in material button, then you will get this variants. Now we are going to keep this all this demo intact and we are going to update our code to version 19. So I will go to my code. I already have the project running there. I will open the terminal. I will stop the tab server and I will type ng update. So it will look out for the packages and dependencies which needs upgradation. So it has listed out some dependencies. So first of all, I will update CLI. I will type ng update space angular CLI. It says that repository is not clean. Yes, because I installed the dependencies again using force flag. So let me commit this for now. Now I will update the CLI. So it will try to update the Angular CLI now. You will see it is updating the dependencies and installing the packages. Once packages are installed, it will ask you that select the migrations that you like to run. I will keep it selected and press enter. Then it is removing standalone true because in Angular 19, by default, all the components and pipes, everything is standalone. Then it is asking the migrations that you would like to run. I will simply select all. So to select all, I will press A and I will press enter. Okay. So Angular Material CLI has been updated. Now let's commit these changes. Now we will update Angular Material. So we will use this command ng update Angular Material. So again, it will try to fetch the dependencies of Angular Material, and then it will find out the latest versions and it will install those versions. Once it's done, you will see messages like updates Angular CDK to version 19 and updates Angular Material to version 19. And it has made some changes in our styles file. Let's look at the main style file. What are all the changes CLI has made? So it has removed the usage of mat.core mixin. So now mat.core mixin is not needed. And it has added two mixins, mat.elevation classes and mat.appbackground. So elevation classes are used if you have elevations applied. So in Angular Material 18 up to Angular Material 18, Angular Material was providing some classes which were helpful if you want to achieve a shadow. And through app background, you can achieve the default background and foreground color for your application. And those are applied in our demo application using matte app background. This is basically similar to what we did in one of our previous chapter where we created an inline class of app background and we used system variables to assign background and foreground colors. Next change, it has again added elevation class and app background. So we are going to remove that. We don't want it twice. Even I'm not using elevation classes anywhere in my application, so I'm going to remove elevation classes, mix in all together and save it. Then there are some changes in dark theme file. Let's inspect those. Here also again it has added app background and elevation classes. I don't want it multiple times. And there are some changes in M3 theme.scss where it has added system variables prefix 6. I'm going to keep it like that only because we are going to remove usage of this M3 theme file altogether. We are going to create the new palette again. Next, we are going to remove individual component themes from our root selector. I will remove up to input theme. Then for typography, we are going to remove this typography from root selector and instead we will move it outside of our root selector and we will keep system variable prefix as matches and we will keep use system variables true. This typography hierarchy mixin is not documented in Angular Material 19 now. So if you are not using typography hierarchy with your uh, tags or with your web application, then you can skip using typography hierarchy mixin. But as this application uses mat typography hierarchy classes, I'm going to keep it. Next, we are going to use the new theme mixin in the root selector. So I will paste the new syntax, which is include mat.theme and color, typography, and density. Then we will remove the usage of system level mixins because with mat.theme, it anyways generates CSS variables. So we don't need those mixins now. Next, we are going to make changes in this overrides example. Many tokens were updated in button overrides. So we are going to change these tokens so that our output remains same. Okay. So I'm going to replace this piece of code with this new code. Basically now each and every variant has separate tokens. Earlier there were only single token for all the variants, but with Angular Material 19, now field, uh, text, outline, all the buttons have separate tokens, which is good in a way. You get a granular control over components. Next, we will make changes for dark theme. So I'm going into dark.scss file. We are going to remove individual component color mixins. This is similar to what we did in style.scss. We removed theme mixins for all the individual components. For dark, we will remove color mixins. Then for dark theme, we will simply use color scheme dark. Uh, you can recollect usage of color scheme dark from our one of a layer chapter where we implemented the toggle between light and dark theme. And we also learned how color scheme property works in CSS. Now here also we want to remove usage of system level mixes because only this single mixin is enough. This will mat.theme mixin is enough. This will generate all the CSS variables for us. Next, we are going to make changes in custom component styles. So I'm going into component slash index.scss and I'm going to clean up everything and I will keep only usage of alert theme. And we will also go to dark and we will remove the usage of components color and we will go to main styles file and we will remove the usage of components theme. Because now we don't have any mixin over here, we are just forwarding alert theme file. Oh, need to forward it and it is being used in custom theme as custom theme in main styles file. Now next change is finding and updating CSS variables. So in our project we have used CSS variables at uh, many places, but with Angular Material 19 now they are renamed. So we need to find out all the CSS variables. So simply search for --sys and replace them with --matsys. Next, we are going to make changes in custom theme. So we will go to underscore custom theme.scss and we will remove the usage of define theme function. We will also remove individual component color mixing and instead of everything we will simply use new mat.theme mixin inside custom theme. Next, we want to remove the usage of M3 theme file. So I'm going to simply delete that file, and I'm going to also delete themes slash all underscore all dot scss file. Don't worry about any errors if you get. Actually, let me stop the dev server. We will create a new palette file using theme color schematic. So I will run the command ng generate angular material theme color hyphen hyphen primary color 6750A4, and I'm creating the file inside src slash styles slash themes folder. I'm going to provide this command in the article below this video, so you can simply copy it, or else you can also run the theme color schematic without any argument and then just provide this answer for the questions. So let's take a look at our theme file. So now we have our theme file created. Now we will go to our main styles file, and here we will remove the usage of themes all because we are not using it anymore. Instead, we will use our newly created theme color, and for primary I will use theme color dot primary palette, and for tertiary I will use theme color dot tertiary palette. I'm also going to remove this comments, they are not needed. Next, for button variants, we are going to remove usage of button color mixin, and we will use theme overrides mixin. So let's make that change. So instead of button color, I will simply put theme overrides, and as buttons relies heavily on primary tokens, I am simply overriding primary and on primary. If you want this to be used for any other components, you may need to adjust these tokens. Okay, so once everything is done, let's run our project. Okay, we are getting an error that all file is not defined in dark. Yes, because we have deleted that and it is not needed anymore. I will remove that line and save it. If you get this error, don't worry. Simply run the start command again. Okay, once it's done, let's open up our browser. Okay, right now it's looks to be working fine. I'm going into light theme. Yes, we can see the colors are overwritten, and alert component is also working fine. Yes, everything seems to be working fine. Let's take a look at any error in the output. It says that a sync pipe is not being used, so we can remove that. Save it. Okay, let's also try the color picker change. Hmm. The color picker change is not working anymore, and the reason behind that is when we change the colors using color picker, it generates the CSS variables runtime, and those CSS variables have a different name or a different prefix. So we need to fix that prefix. So let's go to app component.ts file. Let's find out color picker component, and inside color picker, we have the apply theme function, which applies theme according to material 3 guidelines, and it generates CSS variable with hyphen hyphen 6 prefix. Let me show you that in the browser. So I'm going into browser. Let's inspect the output, and I'm going to change the color. So if you notice, the CSS colors have prefix of hyphen hyphen MD6, correct? So we need to change this to match our Angular materials system variable prefix, which is hyphen hyphen mat_sys. Now you can use any logic you want. I'm simply going to use the styles property. So I'm going to read the styles from DOM, and I'm going to iterate over each and every property. And if any property is starting with hyphen hyphen MD6, then I'm going to replace that MD6 with mat_sys. This may not be a very performant way to do this, but it works in our case. So make sure to use the algorithm suited for your need. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my code here. After apply theme, I'm going to add a few line of code. Now what I'm doing, I'm reading the style property of a target element, which is root element for us. And what I'm doing, I'm going through all the properties in style. And then if it starts with MDSys, then I'm adding a new property, prefixing it with mat_sys, and then I'm setting that property in our root element. So let's save this and let's take a look at the output. Now it is working fine. You can see the colors changing. Even if I go to dark mode, colors are getting changed on runtime. Let's go to browser to take a look at it. So I'm going to change the color. You can see now we can see the colors. The disadvantage of this is now you will have duplicate CSS variables because there are MDSys tokens, and after that there are mat_sys tokens. So this color picker was anyways added just to showcase how you can generate theme runtime. This may not be needed in your actual application, but this is present for reference and demo purpose. One more uh, thing I would like to show you is that for alert theme, we only have one custom component, which is alert component. And for alert component, we are not using this alert theme anywhere. Instead, we are using alert theme.css file. And in this, we have used mat_sys variables only. So as you can see, first of all, I'm defining all the variables. Alert font is mat_sys body medium, alert letter spacing is mat_sys body tracking, and then I'm using all these variables in alert components. These few colors are remaining. Let's fix that. So alert text color, I will simply overwrite MD with mat. Let's also search with MDSys if there are any. Okay, we don't have any usage of MDSys. So what I was trying to say is we are using only CSS variables in my demo. So that's why there were no changes needed for SCSS. But let's say if your component theme file looks like this, where you are using Angular materials functions to get the color. For example, this mat.getThemeColor theme on primary container. If you are reading colors like this for Angular Material 19, now you don't need to read the colors using SCSS function. Instead, you can simply use the system variables. So for example, for on primary container, we know that Angular Material generates tokens with matsys prefix. So simply prefix it with matsys on container. So mat.getThemeColor theme comma on primary container will become where hyphen hyphen matsys on primary container. And you can make similar changes in whole your SCSS file of your custom component. Now, I will also show you one example for font. So for font, what is happening over here? Mat.get theme typography, theme body medium. So instead of this, we know how tokens are generated. So hyphen hyphen and this. That's it. So mat.get theme typography will become where hyphen hyphen matsys body medium. So this is how you will have to change each and every SCSS function to use the system variables, because these functions will no longer work if you are switching to new mixin, which is mat.theme mixin. To make these functions work, you will still have to continue using mat.define theme function, which was introduced in Angular Material 18, but with Angular Material 19 now it is changed to mat.theme mixin. So make sure to uh, check for such changes. If you are using SCSS functions anywhere, you may want to check those and use the CSS variables directly. There is one more change needed for alert component. Let me show you. So if I reduce this main theme's density to -3, once it gets reflected, you will notice that density of Angular material component is getting reduced. You can see that white spacing is getting reduced, but it is not getting reflected in alert component. Also, let's fix the colors for alert component. Let's go to alert theme. We updated the CSS variable, but we are using wrong names. We just need to remove the color word from CSS variable. So that will fix the colors, but density is not fixed yet, because for colors and typography, we can use the system variables or CSS variables. But for density, as of now, there is no way to know what density is applied. So how to fix this? So to fix this, we are going to follow the same approach which we did when we created a UI library and we created stats component in it. We created a density mixin separately and we forwarded that density mixin so that consumer component can use that density mixin and apply the density whichever they want. So we are going to follow the similar approach. We will create the density mixin for alert component and we will forward that so that our main application can use that mixin and pass the density to it. So let's do that. To do that, I'm going to go to alert theme.scss and I will remove everything. I will just keep the density part, and in density mixing instead of theme, now I will take density as argument and I will remove the scale variable from over here, and instead of scale on line number 13 I will directly use density. So now whatever density we provide 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we will read that spacing from this map, and we will apply relative padding margin and even margin on horizontal ruler. So this should work. Now we will use this density mixin in our main styles file. So let's do that. I'm going into main styles file. Here, after matte theme, we want to add alert theme. So for that, I will import alert theme, and then I will use include alert theme dot density -3. So I will provide the same value whichever I am providing over here, so that both densities, angular materials components and alert components are in sync. Let's save this. And once it gets reflected, you can see now the density is getting reflected. Let's store this density in a variable. Now I'm making 0 density, which is standard density, and you can see density is getting applied. So this was the change needed for density to work properly with Angular material theming. So this brings us to the end of chapter 9, which was updating Angular material 18 to 19. To recap, we started by taking at a demo of the application which was using Angular material 18. Then we used Angular CLI to update, first of all, Angular CLI package. So it updated all the Angular packages, and then we updated Angular material and CDK packages to version 19. Then we made lots of style related changes to other two Angular material 19 theme. Then we made some changes to adjust the color picker so that it works fine and generates themes runtime. And we can see the colors changing live on our application. And lastly, we saw what changes are required if you are using Angular materials functions to get the color or get the typography, and you need to change them to use the system variables. And at last, we also saw what changes are needed to get the density working in our alert component. So that density of Angular material component and alert component is aligned. That's it for this chapter. I will see you in the next one. Thank you.